Hi, I'm Randy Wooden, and welcome to another in our Edge Library series, talking about, with job hunters about what kind of questions should you ask an employer and why should you ask them? What do you hope to gain from some of this information? We're into now part 7, and again, several more parts to go. There are many questions you could ask, and part of the challenge for you as a job seeker becomes prioritizing these questions. So in, let's say, sections 1 through 5, 1 through 6, those are some pretty key questions, maybe common questions that you like to ask. And now we're going to get into some questions that still have relevance, but aren't necessarily, at least in this segment anyway, are not necessarily real pertinent to the actual job duties. I mean, let's face it, your main job when you walk in there is to figure out, is this a job I want and a job I can do? And there are a lot of factors that play into that, do I want this job? And let's talk about that aspect now as we cover a couple of questions. I jotted these down. A lot of times the employer will ask you questions about, well, what are your goals? What's your 5-year plan? And that kind of thing. And you know what? It's okay to turn the tables because companies also have plans. And so I would ask, again, probably toward the middle, toward the end of the interview, I would ask them what their department and also their company goals are, short-term and long-term, and what challenges they foresee encountering in reaching those goals. And let's face it, if it were easy, then they would have already done it, theoretically. If you're in sales, for example, their goal for your department might be to increase sales 6% over last year. Great. Well, that sounds good. Now let's figure out how we get there. What steps do we plan to take? What obstacles do they foresee? Are there any, let's say, industry changes, technology changes that might impact your ability to reach those goals? So it's important to understand, I feel, what your department's goals are, and then moreover, more overarching, to understand a little more about the company's goals. And in keeping with that, here's sort of a related question. And if you think about it now on the flip side, when they ask you, why should we hire you? Or what separates you from other candidates? To turn the tables, it's okay, I think, to ask the employer this question, to say, how do you compete with those companies? Or what is your competitive edge as you go to the marketplace? What is it about company X that makes you different? And listen closely to what they tell you. Listen closely to what they tell you. That's their opportunity to sell you on the company if they haven't already done so. If they do a poor job of that and they fumble and they don't know what separates them and how they compete, doesn't mean you can't do the job. It might play into, do I want this job? If the company has no goals, they cannot articulate those, at least this individual can't articulate them, I would hope you'd be able to seek out somebody who could, because if they don't have goals, all they want to do is survive. Is that a place you want to go to work? Might be, might not be, depending on your job situation. But it does help me as a candidate to understand a little bit, hey, do these guys know where they're headed? Have they taken the time to map out a plan to help get there? And what obstacles do they envision encountering? And what's real nice about that is if they'll articulate for you the challenges that they see they'll face in reaching those goals, think about your own background and maybe where you've worked in the past and challenges you've been able to meet or your company or your department has been able to meet. Here again, if they have a need or a perceived need, and you can show that you have in the past addressed that successfully, you've taken one more step in helping present yourself as a solution to their perceived problem. I hope that helps you. It's going to wrap it up for this in our Edge Library series. Again, talking with job hunters about questions to ask an employer during an interview. This is part 7 in the series. That'll wrap it up for now. I'm Randy Wooden. Thanks for watching.